Hair DNA is very useful. It's very durable, like you just mentioned. The Gilgo case, hair evidence was preserved in that case. I mean, decades. So it's only been a couple of months. So I'm hoping that whatever they process in the FBI,
They thought they were invisible. They thought that by disabling the cameras for 41 minutes, they had erased the truth along with the footsteps of Nancy Guthrie. But in the world of high-stakes forensics, silence isn't an absence of evidence, it's a confession. For weeks, the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie was stalled, trapped in the gears of local bureaucracy while a microscopic piece of the puzzle sat ignored in a Florida laboratory. A single human hair. A tiny clue that many dismissed as insignificant. But tonight, the game has changed. The FBI has officially seized that DNA sample, and the reason they are retesting it now is enough to send a shiver through the person watching from the shadows. Because science has finally caught up to the chef, the unseen architect who orchestrated this nightmare. This isn't just a retest. This is a genetic dragnet closing in on the one person who knew exactly when the cameras would stop, and exactly how to make Nancy Guthrie vanish. The net is closing. The chef is about to be served. And it all starts with a single strand of hair. The disappearance of Nancy Guthrie is no ordinary missing person report. It is a chilling saga that has cast a shadow of fear and conspiracy over the quiet residential streets of Tucson. Nancy Guthrie, resting peacefully in the comfort of her own bed, vanished into the desert night without a word. Left behind were only haunting questions and doorbell footage that has sent shivers down the spine of the entire nation. Science has made a revolutionary move that will shake the very foundations of this entire investigation. For weeks, that tiny piece of evidence sat in a private lab, treated as just another routine clue. But today, the FBI has seized that sample. This is a digital and genetic dragnet for the person who thought they could erase every trace of their presence in the home of Nancy Guthrie. Why now? Why, after weeks of critical silence, has the FBI stepped in to take total control? Has the delay by local authorities given the culprit a head start, or is this the moment the mastermind behind the abduction of Nancy Guthrie is finally unmasked? The silence in the household is not just an absence of sound, it is an active, heavy presence that weighs on the hearts of her children, Savannah, Cameron, and Annie. Every ticking second is a reminder that the person who walked onto that porch didn't just take a mother, they took the piece of an entire community. When we dive into the depths of this case, we encounter a theory from forensic researcher Dr. Gary Brucato that will completely reframe how you see this crime. Dr. Brucato argues that the figure captured on the doorbell camera was not the true architect of this crime. He calls that person the waiter. Imagine a high-stakes restaurant where the waiter simply serves what has been prepared in the heat of the kitchen. The waiter is the one you see, the one who takes the risk of being recognized, but the real mind, the real skill, and the real cold-blooded strategy belong to the chef hidden behind the scenes. In this case, the masked intruder was merely executing a plan designed by someone else, someone much closer, someone with a far more calculated and sinister mind. Who is this chef? Who is the unseen architect who knew the every move of Nancy Guthrie? This wasn't a crime of opportunity. The chef knew exactly when she would be alone. They understood the timing of her medical monitoring and her pacemaker. They were intimately familiar with the blind spots of her security system and exactly when the cameras would fail to record. This level of precision doesn't come from a stranger, it comes from a cold, clinical observer. Statistics and forensic science tell a brutal, undeniable truth known as the base rate. Research across thousands of violent crimes shows that in roughly 92% of cases, the victim knew their captor in some capacity. Among female victims, nearly 9 out of 10 are targeted by someone they have a prior connection with. So, we have to ask the difficult question, was the abduction of Nancy Guthrie a random act of violence? Did a complete stranger simply stumble upon her home in the middle of the night? The data says no. This was a targeted operation. This was the work of someone who had spent weeks, perhaps months, observing the rhythm of the life of Nancy Guthrie from the shadows. Dr. Brucato insists that investigators must shift their focus away from the drifter or the random stranger and look toward the peripheral edges of the world of Nancy Guthrie. Think about the people who had access. The contractor who worked on the house and learned the layout. The landscaper who came once a week and noted which doors were left unlocked. The delivery person who noted the placement of the cameras. Familiarity does not always look like intimacy. Often, in the world of violent crime, familiarity is the predator's greatest weapon. But the question remains, why did it take so long to get the FBI involved? The Pima County Sheriff's Department sent that hair sample to a private lab in Florida, where it sat for weeks without producing a breakthrough. This delay did more than just agonize the family. It gave the culprit a golden opportunity to bleach away the evidence, dispose of clothing, and cover their tracks. Now that the FBI has intervened, the message to the chef is loud and clear. Forensic science has reached a point where even a microscopic fragment of hair can yield a full genetic profile through next-gen sequencing and genealogical DNA analysis. The FBI isn't just looking for a direct database match anymore. They are utilizing a method that identifies relatives, building out massive family trees from public genetic databases. They are tracing the abductor through a distant cousin's old DNA file, leading them straight to the abductor's front door. The net is closing, and the chef who thought they were invisible is suddenly finding the room getting very small. Look at the doorbell footage again. Look past the mask. When an average person commits a high-risk violent crime, their body undergoes a massive physiological reaction. Their movements become frantic. They scan the environment for threats. They show hypervigilance. But the figure on the porch of Nancy Guthrie displays an eerie, almost supernatural level of calm. He stands there with a steady gait, approaching the door as if he is coming home, not as if he is about to kidnap a defenseless woman. Dr. Brocado identifies this as a psychopathic character structure. These individuals lack the emotional brakes like fear, guilt, or empathy that restrain the rest of humanity. For them, a crime is simply a series of logistical steps to be completed. This coldness suggests that the person on that porch is no amateur. They likely have a history of antisocial behavior, a trail of lower-level incidents, troubling encounters, or a criminal record hidden in a state file somewhere, waiting for the FBI to connect the dots. The greatest suspense, however, lies within the 41-minute window when the house's cameras suddenly went dark. This cannot be dismissed as a mere technical glitch or a stroke of luck for the intruder. This was the exact window when the waiter was inside the house and the chef was likely controlling the environment from the outside. We now know the back door was found propped open. A random intruder doesn't leave a door propped open in the middle of a kidnapping. That invites discovery. But someone who knows they need a clear, unobstructed logistical path to move a victim would. Did they underestimate the health of Nancy Guthrie? With a pacemaker and serious mobility limitations, Nancy Guthrie was fragile. The extreme stress of that night, being moved in the dark, and being separated from her medication would have been catastrophic. If things went sideways inside that house, if Nancy Guthrie suffered a medical emergency, what horrific decision did the abductors make in those final minutes? Did a kidnapping for ransom transform into something much darker because the chef realized their plan was unraveling? Why do we keep coming back to the chef? Because the FBI's new investigation is pointing directly toward that hidden mastermind, the person who might still be standing among the crowd in Tucson, perhaps even offering help to the family or asking harmless questions to investigators. Psychopaths often enjoy being close to the flame. They enjoy watching the confusion they've created. As the net of genealogical DNA testing spreads, the FBI is cross-referencing every individual who ever showed an unusual interest in the daily schedule of Nancy Guthrie. Dr. Brocado believes the culprit left a mark somewhere, a comment made to a neighbor that sounded just a little too specific, or a sudden change in behavior around the time of the disappearance. The days turn into weeks, but the family's hope remains a defiant flame. For Savannah, Cameron, and Annie, this isn't just a collection of forensic data points, it is the life of their mother. The $1.2 million reward is a massive incentive, a call to those who are silent out of fear. But the ultimate hope now rests on that tiny hair strand currently under the microscopic gaze of the FBI's elite forensic team. Science and statistics teach us that no crime is truly perfect. The chef may have designed a brilliant operation, but they underestimated the intersection of human memory and modern genetic technology. Doctor and Burgess, who helped shape the modern methodology of offender profiling for the FBI, asks a question that continues to haunt this investigation. Where did the blood go? Blood was found on the porch, confirmed to be that of Nancy Guthrie. But the trail abruptly ended. This suggests a level of controlled and logistical movement that borders on professional. This was not a crime born of passion or panic. It was a cold, calculated transaction. According to Burgess, the key to finding Nancy Guthrie lies in the unresolved gap, the minutes between the intruder's arrival and the moment the family found the prop door. What happened in those 41 minutes? Did Nancy Guthrie recognize her abductor? Did she call out a name? Dr. Brocato suggests that if the culprit is a true psychopath, her pleas would have been met with total emotional silence. Their focus was entirely on the mission. But what was the ultimate goal? Was it truly about money, or was the ransom note a forensic misdirection? Psychopaths are known for leaving fake leads to keep police chasing ghosts while they disappear into the shadows. Everything now hinges on the FBI's lab results. If that hair sample belongs to the culprit, their entire family history will be mapped out. Genealogical DNA testing doesn't just find a person, it finds a bloodline. It forces the living to provide the evidence that will convict the guilty. Even if the abductor never committed a crime before, a distant relative's genetic data could be the key that finally unlocks the truth. This investigation has become a message to everyone that our loved ones will not be taken without a fight. The children of Nancy Guthrie continue to wait for the phone call that will change everything. But they are no longer just waiting, they are fighting. The FBI's decision to retest the evidence is the biggest breakthrough in months. It tells the chef and the waiter that the world has not moved on. It tells them that whether it takes months or years, the truth has a way of rising to the surface. The next few days are critical. Will the DNA report reveal a face that shocks the community? Will it point to someone who was hiding in plain sight all along? We will continue to watch every move of this investigation because bringing Nancy Guthrie home is a debt we all owe to justice. Someone out there knows the truth. Someone noticed the chef planning his next move. Someone saw the waiter before he put on the mask. Nancy Guthrie is still out there, and that tiny hair sample might just be the bridge that finally brings her home. Remember, no matter how clever the plan, no chef leaves a kitchen without leaving a trace. And this time, the FBI has found it. Every molecule of that DNA is now screaming for the truth. The shadows are receding, and soon, there will be nowhere left for the chef to hide. We are closer than ever to uncovering what really happened to Nancy Guthrie. The psychological profile of this chef suggests they are not just watching the news, they are obsessed with the narrative. They are checking the forums, reading the comment sections, and perhaps even engaging with the search efforts. They thrive on the feeling of superiority, the idea that they outsmarted the FBI. But that superiority is a trap. Every time they search for an update, every time they revisit the crime scene, they leave a digital footprint that is being tracked. The FBI's decision to retest the hair sample now is a strategic strike against that arrogance. It's a signal that the investigation is no longer reactive, it's proactive. The silence of the Florida lab has been replaced by the roar of federal technology. What if the hair doesn't belong to the waiter? What if it belongs to the chef himself? What if the mastermind, in a moment of arrogance, stepped onto that property days before to scout the entry points? Forensic history is filled with masterminds who were undone by their own need to be close to their plan. If the DNA matches someone within the social or professional circle of Nancy Guthrie, the chef's kitchen will go cold instantly. The betrayal would be profound, but the resolution would be absolute. The Guthrie family deserves to know who among them was wearing a mask long before the abduction took place. As the genealogical search reaches back through generations, the abductor's anonymity is dissolving. They can hide their face, they can burn their clothes, and they can prop open doors to create alternate exits, but they cannot change their blood. They cannot delete their ancestry. The FBI is currently looking for the common ancestor of the person who left that hair behind. From there, it's a process of elimination, narrowing the list from thousands to hundreds, then to a dozen, until they find the one name that fits the profile. The one name that has a connection to Nancy Guthrie. We are standing on the edge of a major revelation. The transition from local to federal control of the DNA evidence marks the beginning of the end for the culprits. The $1.2 million bounty, the relentless media coverage, and the clinical precision of Dr. Brocato's profiling have created a pressure cooker. The chef is starting to feel the heat. They are realizing that their perfect 41-minute window was only a temporary shield. The shadows are receding, and soon, there will be nowhere left to hide. We are closer than ever to uncovering what really happened to Nancy Guthrie. Stay tuned, because the final piece of the puzzle is about to be placed. The truth about Nancy Guthrie is coming home. Every molecule of that DNA is now a witness. The countdown to justice has begun. Stay vigilant, stay questioning, and remember, the chef always leaves a taste of his work behind. And this time, it's going to lead to his downfall.